Daily 2023, Story 24, where I am beginning in Photoshop Elements with a digital patterned paper from Ali Edwards. If you are a subscriber to the Ali Edwards quarterly scrapbook kits, you have received this physical paper. And if you didn't already know, you also received the digital versions of all of the things in the quarterly kit. So you have the ability to either choose between hybrid or completely digital or physical. And I'm kind of going with the hybrid here. I don't want this saying at the top of the page. I want to have just the gray lines and just the numbers. I originally thought I was going to add a different saying, but now I've kind of rethought my process, and I just kind of want a page with all, just simple numbers, these lines, and then typed text. I don't want this. So I'm going to go into over here. Well, first of all, let's begin over here. Let's duplicate this layer. Just because if I do make a mistake, the original layer is just kind of, it's just kind of hanging out in the background. And I do oftentimes forget to do that. So it's something I have to remind myself to do. But I'm going to work on the copy of the layer. So I've hidden the regular background. I'm working on the copy. I'm going to go over here to the spot healing brush. And you see it on the screen there. It's kind of small. I want it to be pretty large. I want to get rid of this by just swiping right over it. So the bigger, the better. So let's see. That looks like it's a decent size. So I'm just going to start swiping over it, just taking my brush and going over it. And you'll see that doesn't always work on the first try, but then you can go and do a second swipe and then it's gone. So that is the whole idea behind this, is to be able to remove large things. Sometimes you can just remove large things with one click. Alrighty, so the other thing I want to do now, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. As I'm sitting here talking through this, I'm thinking, there are different ways I can get to the same destination. What is the easiest way that I could show? And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I just can't come up with the easiest answer. In this case, what I want to do is I want to spread these lines out so that there isn't any open space up here. I want everything to kind of be moved. And I was thinking that the best thing to do would be to individualize each of these lines. So that might be the best. I don't know. I'll kind of start showing you, and as I'm walking through it, we can see if there's, I'll always try to find the easiest way to do things. And I do say the same thing over and over again. I'm not a pro. I'm not an expert. I didn't take a class. I never had a lesson. These are just things that I've taught myself and things that I've acquired through the years. And I just kind of decided that sharing them is fun. So, alrighty. So I do know that, let's see if this is movable. It is movable, which is really super cool. All right. So I am going to move this up and kind of position those lines in a way. Let's see. Let's see if I can get the one there on the top. If I can get the one there on the top. Yeah. And I could duplicate this particular layer as many times as I want. And I think I think that might be the way that I'm going to go with this. So let's go into layer, duplicate layer. Okay. I think, let's see. Now we have 4 copies of that. Let's see if I could do 5. Okay. And I'm doing them one by one just to show you how I'm doing them. But you, as you advance yourself, you'll find ways of shortcuts where you could do a lot of things at one time. Okay. So let's begin. I'm going to begin with this one here that's at the top. And I'm going to call that one number 1. So I am going to just kind of choose everything that I want to be a part of number 1. Layer, new, layer via cut. And then over here, I'm going to delete copy number 5. Okay, so there you have the number 1. I'm going to hide that for now. Here is the next one. This is background copy 4. This is going to be the one that I use for the 2. So I am going to go from as close as I can underneath that gray line. And you can, again, go big, right? New layer via cut, and then I will I will delete background copy 4. Now I've been put on background copy 3, so I'm going to try to select everything that, oh, see, I went over the gray line there. So you just double click and it goes away. So try to just get everything that belongs. Do you see how I'm going over that top gray line? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So if you just click, it'll go away. So there's a little tip and a trick for you. So I'm going to go as far down as I can towards the 4. Layer, new, layer via cut, and then delete background copy 3. I'm now on background copy 2. And now this one is going to be D4. So let's layer, new, layer via cut, and delete background copy 2. And now I have all of these in separate layers. Let's go here and do the 5. So doing the 5, layer, new, layer via cut, delete background copy. Oop, ugh, goodness gracious. Go back, delete, not 5, but delete background copy. That's weird. Oh, I'm sorry. That explains it. Layer 1 was hidden. Okay, my bad. Alrighty, so now we can select all of these and kind of move them around as needed. Okay, so I'm going to start by going down here, pulling the 5 down. I'm going to pull the 5 down. Pull the 4 down. I could butt that up right against there. Pull the 3 down. Pull the 2 down. And then pull the 1. Well, the 1 doesn't need to be pulled. So right there you can see I've already divided the page up into 5 sections. That top part is completely gone. And I do have this little bit down, this background here. And honestly, if I bring the background back, that goes away. So now I have adjusted every single one of these. You could even go any further if you wanted to, and you could choose this. And you can choose the 1, right? Layer, new, layer via copy. And you can, move the 1 around. Move the 1 up high if you want to. You could take this one and you can use the tool here to delete this one. Let's use the tool and delete this one. Right? Getting rid of that. So that's gone. And now you have total control over the 1. Where do you want the 1? Do you want the 1 to be closer to this edge? Do you want the 1 to be higher to the top? Again, these are just ways that you can go about doing things that are going to give you more options with your patterned papers. So all I'm going to do with this now is I'm just going to sit back and type my 5 stories, so to speak, into this paper before I print it. And then we will head back to my desk where I am going to start putting my page together. Okie dokie, so here is my finished product and this piece of paper from the Paisley Press mini kit and a piece of cardstock cut to, I believe it's 9 inches wide by the normal 8 1/4 inches. So I'm going to use some temporary adhesive and I'm going to put the Paisley Press patterned paper on there on that side, and then over here on this side I'm going to adhere my product because I am going to do a little, I guess a tab. I'm not really sure what to call it, but you'll see here in just a second. So let's adhere that. Going to get out my ruler, and I want to put a half circle or something similar to a half circle right in the middle. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my centering ruler to mark where the middle is. And I'm going to do that very lightly because I do plan on erasing that. And I am going to draw a line here so that I know where I need to put my circle. So let's get out my circle. This is, I guess, a stencil with a circle. This is a 1.5 inch circle. I'm going to just use my craft knife to go ahead and cut a partial circle. I don't want to say half, but similar, like a partial circle, so that I'll be able to tuck a piece of transparency underneath that. So you'll just see once I get this circle cut out how that's going to look and exactly what I have in mind. Sometimes things are difficult to explain and you just kind of need to see it. So there is a half circle, which is probably hard to see, but you'll see it in just a second. I'm going to erase the pencil marks that I made because they are going to be visible. And then let me show you here how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the Paisley Press paper and I am going to place it back where I had it. So let's take that off there. And I am going to adhere that down permanently now because I did exactly what I needed to do with it, and it needs to be permanently put down on the paper. And then I'm going to take the journaling paper that I printed from Photoshop Elements, and I am going to adhere that to the other side. So let's punch some holes in there. That's how it's going to go into my album. And then here is the paper, again lining it up with the other side. And do you see how I pulled that? See, now you could see the circle that, or the partial circle that I created. And you're going to see that that paper with the journaling is going to tuck underneath that. So once I get this lined up nicely, I do believe that I need to trim off just about 1/4 of an inch from that journaling paper. But first I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down permanently because this is like the base, and this isn't going to change or be modified further in any way. And then here I am trimming off the small portion that is hanging off the edge. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to make sure everything is lined up nicely. I have to do a little bit additional trimming just because I'm obsessed with being as perfect as I can, even though that is something I'm definitely working on. It's still a problem. So a little bit more adhesive here, just kind of getting it down so it stays nicely around the edges. And then here is my transparency. This is also the same size, which is again 7 by 8 1/4. And I'm going to tuck that underneath the circle as well. And it is going to go on top of the journaling paper. And I'm going to use washi tape in order to attach those two together right along this line here. And so I do have several different washi tapes that I pulled out. I have a whole bunch of different greens. I have some gold, some black stripe. I think it was just one of those things where I didn't really like any of them, so I kind of picked out the green that I thought was the most festive. And this is just thin. This isn't really thick. A lot of times I like to use the 1-inch washi tape, but I didn't have any that I liked, so this will hold it on nicely. So you're just going to go ahead and place that over the transparency. Put it down nicely because it is going to be visible in this particular instance. And then go ahead and turn that over and then fold the other part of the washi tape onto the back side. And that will keep that in place nicely for me. Just going to press it down with my finger to make sure that it stays. And then after I'm done, I am going to go ahead and make sure that it opens. Do you see how it's tucked under there? And then trim off the edges. And that is how this particular page is going to flip open. And I am going to build some things on top of this transparency. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull out this paper from Allie Edwards this year with the presents on it. And I am going to take my craft knife and I am going to cut out the middles of several of the presents. So whatever presents you want to use is up to you. I think I chose 5 of them. Just kind of, trying to do it the best that I can. I'm not using a roller. I'm just trimming, or cutting with my craft knife. And then I'm going to use scissors to cut around the outside. So I'm trying to get it so that there's a little bit of white between the gold on both sides of the gold. Again, you can choose to do this in whatever way you want to do this. That's fine. You don't need to. You could cut right along the gold if you want to, but I kind of like it with the white around the outside. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to go ahead, and those are my presents. They're so cute. And get some patterned paper. I'm just pulling out some scraps here. These are just different scraps of papers that I've used this year. I saved them in a folder because of things like this. And I'm going to make a stack of presents. So just so that I know which papers to use, I kind of stack those presents up ahead of time just to get a visual. And I'm going to kind of choose between some green and some red. And using the present itself as like a stencil, sort of, I'm going to hold the present on top of the patterned paper so that none of the patterned paper is sticking off of the outside from underneath the present. And there are my little presents. I just think this is adorable paper. This is word art that I printed on vinyl, and I will put that on first, and I want some of the presents to actually be on top of that word tradition. So that is why I put down the word art, and then I went ahead and adhered each of the presents. I am using some, I think it's vellum adhesive there, and then a little bit of regular adhesive. Here I have this piece of a gift bag that I just used to mount a photo of my son and myself, and I'm just going to adhere that to the back side. I'm not worried about it sizing up to match the presents, just so that it doesn't stick out. And that's it. That is as simple as it is. That was a totally simple page to put together. Again, you're going to tuck that under so that you can see it doesn't fly open. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and take a look at the changes that I made, because we all know that that's what I'm going to do after I get off of camera. So this is what it looks like in my album, and you'll notice that I took some colored pencils and I just kind of colored those bows in a little bit. And then I also added a few red and green hearts to a couple of the presents as well. So that just kind of made it pop a little bit. The white bows just, they weren't popping. So I thought, you know what? I don't feel like working with markers or watercolors. And I just pulled out my colored pencils and just did a little bit of coloring with those. And then at the bottom, you'll see I added cheers to us along the bottom of that present. And then over that tab, I have a fabric piece that says "This Matters." And then when you go ahead and you open up that transparency, you'll see my photo. And then I think what I did here was I added a tiny heart above each of the numbers. And then I also did a few stamps just with some green and red ink, just 3 little stamps with some sayings on it. And that's it, guys. This was a super simple one to do and put together. Again, thank you so much for playing along, and reach out if you have any questions. And we will see you